Okay. Good evening. I'd like to call to order this September 12th, 2018 regular board meeting of the Pullman School District, and we'll begin, as we always do, with our flag salute led by our ASB representative, Mandy Ravenna.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next item of business is the approval of the agenda. Superintendent Maxwell, are there any changes to tonight's agenda?
Just a clarification to bring to the board's attention under number 8 discussion items. D, Secretary Bargaining Group MOU, that is actually in the consent agenda. As part of the consent agenda, it's not a discussion item. So you can scratch that off under discussion items. D, Secretary's Bargaining Group MOU, that is contained in the consent agenda.
I will move that we approve the agenda as recently revised.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the agenda as revised. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next, we'll move on to reports, correspondence, and program, beginning with our Pullman High School ASB report.
Hello, everyone. It's nice to see you guys.
Hello.
I know it's been a couple months. Although we've only been in school for 3 weeks, quite a few things have happened since we started. Over the summer, the PHS Executive ASB and each class president went to Chihuahua, where we went to a week-long learning camp designed to make sure we were all going into this year best informed, to make sure we could run the school in the best way possible. I thought that was a very good experience. I learned a lot about ASB I didn't know before, and how to be making sure everyone in the school feels like their voice is being heard, especially because most of our decisions are made in leadership class, and a lot of kids don't get the opportunity to be in leadership because it's such a small selection. But we found ways that we can make sure everyone's voice is being heard, even though they're not directly in the room when the vote is being made. So that was one thing we did this summer. That was really cool. That was in August. The first day of school, we had our back-to-school assembly. That was something we planned at camp and a couple of weeks right before school started. We think that was pretty good success. We had almost all the students there. We just gave a rundown of how the year was going to start out. It was a pretty fun experience for all the new incoming freshmen to see what it was like to be at a PHS assembly. Taught everyone the roller coaster cheer, which is how we start all of our assemblies, so that was pretty fun. We had our block party this last 2 Fridays ago. That was crazy. We've never made money before on the block party, but we made $400, and usually we lose $400. But I think that's a very good sign of our ASB going to camp, learning the new methods of spreading the word about ideas, and then showing that result right away on the 3rd day of school. So that was such a huge success. We had huge population turnout. I think there was like 500 kids, which is crazy. That's over half of our school's population. So that was a really good time. All the students were able to see the new clubs that the school offers, as well as the old ones that were there. We had an area for the clubs to sit and talk to students. And we also had some fun games for them to participate in. And of course, we had food catered because it was during dinner time. So students could eat there if they wanted to go and didn't want to miss dinner. We also are having our big Battle of the Borders football game coming up, which is Pullman versus Moscow. It's always a big deal for our students. That's this Friday, and we decided to stick with the camo theme because our students say they're bear hunting. So, yeah, that'll be fun. Leadership has been working hard on making sure that that's a huge event. We have big posters with Washington State and Idaho on it and all this crazy stuff. We're also having a tailgate in the parking lot before the football game to get a lot of students to show up, because this is one of our biggest games of the year. And the first 50 students that come to the game are entered into a raffle that will win like a spirit pack, and it has like a t-shirt and a hat, and that's being made by some of the girls in our leadership class. But we just want kids to come to the game later in the evening at like 8, about an hour after it started, but we want to get them there early. So by having something at the beginning, we think that's a good way to draw them in. And then we have homecoming coming up on October 6th, and we have homecoming week the whole week before that, so the 30th to the 6th. starting with our hallway decorations on the 30th, and then we'll have different spirit events and activities that students can participate in during lunch and after school, after sports practices, leading up to homecoming. We are having it at the school again this year because that was a pretty big success last year, and we thought it was nice to have 3 different locations of our dances, making the school one of them a good way to start the year off, just at a place where the students are comfortable and where they know where everything is. The theme for homecoming is TV shows, which we were pretty surprised by that one. That's a school vote, not just leadership, so we were surprised to see that, but we're excited. Every hallway or every grade has a hallway which each has their own theme, so it'll be cool if you want to come by that week and see all the hallways decorated by the students. That'll be something that will be fun to see. That's all I have for right now. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next, we have board reports, and we begin down at the end with Director Weed.
Okay, we got shout outs to a bunch of Pullman High School kids, FFA students who got all sorts of awards at the Palouse Empire Fair, which was last week, and so that's a pretty fun, neat deal, and proud of all of them working hard. And I have a whole list, but there's half the words I don't understand anyway, so I'll wait. Then my report would be as long as Bob's, and we don't want that to happen. Then we also have this Friday the mini border paddle, as was just mentioned, but I will also put in a plug that it will be on your local radio station, Hits 100, which is 100.5 FM, also on pullmanradio.com and on our app. So for grandparents and parents who aren't in town, you can do that. I want to thank Allison for helping us complete our WASDA Board of Distinction application. That was amazing that you did all the work and saved me some hassles, so that was good. Thank you very much for doing that. And then next week is our legislative conference. That's WASDA, the Washington State School Directors Association, up in Spokane, so I will be there all the time. And Nathan is coming up for a day, maybe?
Oh, yeah.
Yes? Mm-hmm. Got to indoctrinate some of these other people. So that is up in Spokane next week, and I think that's what's coming up. Homecoming, of course, and Spirit Week for October 10th through 16th or so. Yeah. So that's it for what's going on at Pullman High School.
All right. Thank you so much. Director Roberts.
So I have mostly been just trying to figure out kindergarten this last week. And it's been pretty neat to have had indoctrinated in the policy and the higher, the 20,000-foot view, and then try to enter the school as an individual and figure out what's going on. So it's really colored my perspective a lot. I had the privilege of going to the faculty and staff meeting this morning at Franklin, and it's just nice to meet all the teachers and see the faces, introduce myself, kind of hear what's going on. And we just finished our third communication advisory group committee meeting. I really appreciate all of the efforts that that group has put forth in that committee. I think we're coming up with some really great discussion and thoughts and recommendations, and we hope to have them to the rest of the board soon. So otherwise, done.
All right. Thank you. Director Everman.
Just to report that I did meet with the Sunnyside Elementary School PTO groups and teachers last week, so they're off to a great start. They love reading, which is what I love to do too, so yeah, they're going to book fair and all that kind of stuff. Good start.
Great. Thanks. Director Tanner.
I've also noticed a very positive start to the school year. It's been really enjoyable so far. This past Monday, I had the privilege of attending the LMS booster meeting, which was my first. It was very exciting. They have a lot of really cool stuff going on. Tomorrow they have a booster barbecue previous to the open house for LMS. And then the ASB is currently selling popcorn, which I'm sure some of you have probably been hearing about. And later in this month, they're going to be hosting a Ugandan children's choir, which I think sounds pretty interesting. I'm excited to take my children to. And in a couple weeks, I'll be attending their staff meeting as well. So lots going on.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I attended with Nathan the Communications Advisory Committee
I know, I get
meeting
to
prior
talk
to
about it
this
first, don't
meeting.
I?
Yeah. Also attended the Jefferson staff meeting this morning. Thank you, Principal Jim Bruce, for inviting me to that. Boy, they do a lot in 25 minutes. It's crazy. Those meetings are short, but a lot of conversations. So, yeah, that's my report. So let's move on to the superintendent report.
All right, so I'll start with, I think this is the first time I ever wore a t-shirt to a school board meeting in my entire career, but I'm really happy to. So I get to model, this is a t-shirt that was designed by Shannon, and this is what we were given to all the new teachers. And so the idea was to give them the shirts at our opening when we were introducing them, but the shirts hadn't arrived yet. So today we went around taking pictures with the shirts, so I have shirts for you as well. And if the size you want is not in here, we'll have them on order, so I'll pass that around. Just to let you know, I approached PEF for asking them for a donation to pay for the shirts, and a member of the PEF, who don't have permission to release their names, said they would pay for all the shirts. So, so this was all a donation, and so they are pretty popular right now. So Shannon is working with College Hill.
Yeah, College Hill, custom dress.
Oh, Tony, yeah.
And so they're going to set up an online order, so if other staff members are interested, or the public even, I guess.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, they'll be open.
they can purchase I Love Pullman Public Schools t-shirt. So that's one of our starts, so we're really excited about that. Kamiak Elementary is moving right along. I'm hoping they're going to pave tomorrow and Friday, Joe, if weather holds. So we'll have asphalt, which is really important because we have to have asphalt, number one, to enter the construction site now because our temp road will go away. We also need it so that we can asphalt the pathway, which then Avista can come in and put in a junction or a box for the electric, and we need electric like now.
Yeah.
And so to continue the progress, but Kamiak is on schedule, it's on budget, and we're really excited about the progress. And we post pictures usually every Friday on our website. So we usually have pictures taken on Thursday, and by Friday we can get them up onto the website. So with that, I have a couple others, and then I'm going to invite up some guests as part of my report. We have been successful for the 4th year in a row of getting the Seattle Visiting Nurse Association to come to our school district and provide flu immunization shots. And that will occur Tuesday, October 16th, 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. And I'm trying to remember where it's going to be at. LMS, thank you. So Tuesday, October 16th, from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m., they'll have 3 nurses there. So we're offering that again. And so if you have approved insurances, they'll usually take that. But they'll be here to provide flu shots. I just want to remind the board about the regional meeting. So if you are attending, please let Shannon know so we can get you registered. Also, I have in here a professional development travel request. It's a little unusual, but this is an international trip, and so I have the details for your consideration. So I'll provide that in the report, so take a look. And with that, I'll pass that around. I'd like to invite up May Gulnick and whoever else you would like to bring as part of the Jefferson Outdoor Learning Lab, since she has several members from Jefferson in the audience with her tonight.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. I just wanted to read a quick little blurb that I wrote out, and then I'll introduce our landscape architect, Jenna. The Outdoor Learning Lab at Jefferson Elementary School will be designed to enhance student lessons in every area, from science to math to music and art. The project is a functional scientific laboratory where students can enjoy hands-on learning. Students can study outside and watch the growth of birds and animals in their natural habitat. Students learn the importance of ecosystems, biodiversity, as well as the necessity for conservation and preservation. So the importance of children having outdoor learning spaces at schools is well established. Outdoor classrooms are effective for applied science education, inquiry-based learning, physical and emotional health, and brain function. And I would like to introduce Jenna Jockus from SPVV Landscape Architects in Spokane, Washington. She's also a WCU adjunct faculty member as well. And Jenna, take it away.
Thank you, thank you. Yes, please. I've got extra, whoever wants. Okay, I've got a little PowerPoint. Thanks for having some time in your agenda for us today.
Thank you, ma'am.
Again, my name is Jenna Jockus, and I'm working with Jefferson Elementary PTA in developing an outdoor learning lab for their courtyard space there at the elementary. And here's an image of what the courtyard space looks like today. And then if you click to the next slide there, just an aerial. And just to walk you through what's existing there, I think this is an old aerial, but on the northwest and south sides are, of course, the school building and then the concrete walks adjacent to the building. The southwest corner there is that existing patio right off of the library. Of course, the grassy slope, the grassy area. And then on the east side is an existing greenhouse and then that asphalt trail that runs north and south. And so what we would like to do is develop an outdoor learning lab. You can click it down there. Thank you. Do I have a clicker?
Yeah.
It's right here.
Somebody's moving it.
Someone's moving it.
I can move it.
Oh, all right, cool.
You just let me know, I'll move it for you.
Yeah,
Just tell me.
I'm good. And so I've been working with the PTA to develop this outdoor learning lab that will, of course, the primary purpose is for natural learning, but this lab also has features that benefit children of all abilities, children with special needs, in particular autism, sensory integration issues, and behavioral issues. And so when those come along in the presentation here, I'll be sure to identify those specifically. There are going to be 5 learning zones in this outdoor classroom. And just to show you, you've got the 11 by 17 there, but I'll walk you through those 5 different zones. Off of the library area, in the southwest corner is the amphitheater area. If you go up to the upper left is the nature journaling area. In the upper center is what we're calling the core area. Upper right is the pollinator garden area. And then the last but not least, down in the bottom right, is the edible garden area. And so my following slides, do I need to do this? Oh. Thank you. All sorts of fun things up here I was missing out on. Okay, so the following slides have images, and so I'm just going to walk you through each of these spaces and talk about all the special things going on here. So just quickly on the paths are going to be connecting all of these zones, plus connecting 2 main classroom doors and to the trail, the asphalt trail on the east side. These paths are going to be 5 foot wide, paved in some sort of way, and fully accessible. We've talked about several different surfacing options, whether they're concrete or they're asphalt. The asphalt image there has tactile strip along either side for low vision students, etc. Then we've also tossed around the idea of using pavers. So that's something we're going to explore here in the next design phase. And then the amphitheater area just off of the library, one of the first things we're doing is adding 10 feet onto that existing patio to give more flexibility and use for events, more hardscapes, for perhaps outdoor movies, that sort of thing. And then the amphitheater here is going to be bench-style seating. We're thinking it's going to be bench-style seating similar to this image here. They're going to be installed on a gradual slope and not the tiers when you think of another amphitheater style, but more of a gradual slope. And then between this path and the amphitheater seating, there's going to be plantings, shade trees, landscape boulders. I'm also suggesting in modifying this existing retaining wall, taking out the block and installing 2 tiers of landscape boulders just to tie everything in aesthetically. Okay. Just up in the nature journaling area, this is more for classroom use, classroom activities, journaling activities, sketching, and what we'd like to do here is include a variety of seating, a couple of picnic tables, one of which would be accessible, and then these are journaling platforms similar to this image here where a couple kids can pile on, sit side by side while they're doing their sketching or their observations or whatever they're doing at the time. And then also one of the features here is a magnifying station where kids can put like a leaf or a butterfly underneath and make closer observations on those things and do their sketching or do their note-taking. So one of those things that helps them just look in closer detail at all these natural elements that they're going to have access to. Okay. In between the nature journaling area and the core area are going to be a couple cozy spaces, and these are one of those really beneficial elements in terms of when you're working with children with autism, children with behavioral issues, sensory issues, and cozy spaces can come in many different forms, and essentially what they are is an intimate space where one child or maybe two children, if needed, can go in. They've got some quiet time. If they're on sensory overload, they can go into a cozy space and self-regulate. They can have some quiet time, some personal time. But they're also designed so that while there's a sense of refuge for the student, the teacher has full supervision into that space just to make sure they're doing all right. So it's just one of those things that is great for all students but has particular benefit for children with special needs. And there's 3 throughout this courtyard. The core area is a multi-use area. The ground plane is turf. I'm proposing that we use a drought-tolerant turf water-wise that needs half of the water use that the traditional lawn does. This is an example of turf that I've included on other projects. It grows in really nicely, really fully, but it requires just a fraction of the maintenance that traditional lawn does. And then one of the greatest features here is a series of shade sails that not only provide shade and protection for the core area, but it also helps provide shade for that upper portion of classrooms. So the shade sails, in addition to the shade trees you see in the plan, will help provide some shade for that north side classroom wing. And then the sails would be primarily attached to some sort of post, or I'm calling them art totems in the plan. Whether they're metal or wood has yet to be identified, but the opportunity here is for children to paint them or beautify them in some way so that they're a significant art feature prepared by Jefferson Elementary students. And then the pollinator garden, I think, is one of my favorite areas. So here, we've got, of course, pollinator plantings. We've got perhaps a variety of pollinator habitat, those bee hotels, and then another magnifying station. And the central feature in this space is what I'm calling a bee skep structure, some sort of structure where kids can use for interpretive learning or just for some plain fun out there. So another kind of a bigger, it's not a cozy space, it's more of a comfy space in this pollinator garden. And then the next slide shows the features on the east side of the garden. A butterfly sculpture here as another large art feature. And then these honeycomb features that are located on kind of adjacent to the pathway to give a sense of separation between the garden space and the pathway, and yet another way to beautify the garden. And then will be a series of interpretive signs, ideally more interactive than what you see in this example here, but a series of interpretive signs specific to the pollinator garden that talks about the purposes of this sort of garden, pollinator species, and anything else the school might find useful in their curriculum. And then finally, the last item is a little library tucked into the plantings here, perhaps facing the asphalt path.
Are those like the beehive thingy looking thing there, and then the beehive structure, are they climbable?
Ideally, no. Ideally, no. That would be the intent.
Well, sure, but I mean, will they hold those who are going to climb them anyway?
Structurally, they'd be sound, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's,
yeah.
I mean, I just look at those and think, ooh,
I know.
Wouldn't that be fun?
I know.
So-
And the thinking through that, I mean, this is not a playground.
Yeah.
So we would be thinking through that in the next design process, how those. would
But
be
that area is open. And
Yes,
so you gotta.
kids will be kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna plan this in the.
grown-ups, so.
Yeah, I hear you. In the safest way possible,
Yeah.
absolutely.
But it just looks like it would be, especially that structure thing.
Yeah, yeah. And again, these are just representative images. As we go through the design process, these things will start to take more shape. And then lastly, the edible garden area. Again, another lawn space with drought-tolerant turf, sort of a flexible area for the edible garden. Plantings along here would focus on edibles. Again, another cozy space, perhaps it's a bean teepee given the theme of this particular zone. And then up here, I've identified a digging area, which is really just a pile of soil. But this is another feature that's particularly beneficial for children on the autism spectrum, for children with sensory issues. I can go into lots of detail on why that is, and I'd be happy to if you want to know. But a pile of soil is not going to only help the function of the edible garden space, but it's going to give kids opportunities to dig, use tools, use little wheelbarrows, things like that, and help their physical development. And then centrally located are a series of 6 raised beds. I'd like to see some wider rims around here for kids just to sit. It's more comfortable to sit and lean in when you're gardening. The existing greenhouse on the south side would be 2 compost bins or tumblers. And then on the north side, I think it's a 6x8 there on the plan, utility/storage shed. And that really concludes the presentation. So I'd love to open it up for questions, comments, feedback.
What kind of things would grow in an edible garden given the short growth time that we have when school's, in the spring?
Lots of things. There's, fruit trees, berries, edible flowers, nasturtiums, sunflowers. So there's, unfortunately, it's summer's the prime time, but what we would want to look at is the seasonality of these things. Like in for example, some things that we might not think of as edible, but are edible. Elderberries, we don't eat a lot of elderberries, but they're edible. So there's a lot of native type plants that we could also include here that serves for the learning purposes for the various zones that we can include throughout the garden space.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
I love the plans. It looks beautiful, honestly. I was wondering, and this may be a question for Meg, I'm not sure, have you guys thought about how we would plan curriculum for the outdoor? Would you provide like samples or?
Yes, we have. So,
Could you come actually up to that way it will all be captured?
Yes.
Thank you.
Gotta get on camera.
Yes, we have planned for that. So Rena Minks and Jill Brockmeyer, who are immersed in STEM and STEAM projects already, are already planning some projects for this garden area, and they plan on writing some grants to Pullman Education Foundation for some curriculum and some supplies. And then also for our PTA, we're considering that we would fund more for STEAM and STEM projects as well.
And given that there's so many cool summer things, right? Like, do you anticipate like community uses for this during the summer?
You know what we would really love to have is to find a retired master gardener that could help manage this area, during the off season, like during the summer.
That's kind of what I was wondering.
Yeah, and we are putting in a smart irrigation system so that we can turn the water on from our smartphones. So that will make it easier to manage that. The majority of the garden is actually drought tolerant, Y-scape plants and native plants that are drought tolerant. The only area that would really need to be watered would be the actual garden and edible garden area. And that smart system also, it can detect rain, and so it won't water if it has rained and things like that. And Y-scaping that whole area actually gives us a rebate on the water bill for the school as well. And last year, just changing out the aerators in the sinks in the school, we reduced our use by 65,000 gallons of water. So
wow.
we're always thinking of those
Those
type
are little
of-
things, you know?
Yeah,
Amazing.
little things, that's it. And they were free from the city, so we didn't have to pay for them, so. So to answer your question, we do have lots of STEAM and STEM, and we're bringing in Jennifer Harbour to assist us with that
Oh, fun.
as well. Yeah.
In terms of the school district, the liability, would this be considered a playground-like facility?
No, it's not going to be a
Well, I
playground
know
like
it's not a
facility.
playground.
Right.
But it's essentially public, because anybody
Yeah.
can access.
There's no like
Yeah,
fence
they
or anything,
could.
right, as far as.
So
Right.
my question is liability.
Yeah.
How would that be
So
managed?
we do, as a PTA, we do have liability insurance.
Okay.
So I think we would be covered as far as that goes, because it is a PTA project. So I could look into that more, though.
Okay, if
Yeah.
you wouldn't
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah.
That's a great point. Some of the things I've seen is signage that posts, this is a garden, this is for student use, this is the intent of the space. And so that gives whoever's there, this is the intent of the space, it's not for playing, that sort of
Okay.
thing. So that helps.
And obviously, things would be done during the daytime, but lighting would be an issue as well, all those kind of things, so.
Yeah, it would mostly be done during the day.
Okay.
We wouldn't be doing anything in the evening, unless, it was in the warmer months.
Just say
where
like
there would
spring,
be
it's
lights.
dark at like, 4 o'clock.
Yes, yeah. The majority of it will be used during the school day. And, last Monday at the PTA meeting, we had about 6 teachers there, and they brought it up, and they're all super excited for it, to be able to have, it's just another resource for our teachers.
Yeah.
And so I love that idea, and that nature therapy, like, we all love going to the woods, right? Or, like digging in the garden and all that. I think that's going to be extremely beneficial to our
It
kids.
reminds me of a miniature arboretum. I mean,
Yeah.
the way it's set up.
Yeah, and thanks to Jenna for that design. It's
Yeah.
incredible.
No, that's-
Yeah, we love it.
Nice job.
Thank you. Well, I had a great starting point with the information I started with.
And honestly, I would encourage you to think more about summer too, because honestly, it's such a
Oh,
great
yeah.
space, and like the chief cool time to use it would be during the summer months, and so maybe even trying to find educational opportunities or with daycares.
Well, we have
or I don't know,
YMCA.
like-
We have YMCA,
Okay, nice.
that could potentially use some of that. And, if there are any other opportunities, we'd love to be able to use that space. So, it's going to take a little bit for some of the plantings and things and trees to grow up, but it's going to, I predict, if you have a kindergartner that starts there, and by the time they're in 5th grade, that they're going to see a lot of growth in that area, and so that's going to be pretty cool to see.
And are y'all
And
planning?
memorable.
And don't take all my questions as criticism, because I think
Oh,
this is an
no,
awesome idea.
no.
I just am, it's fascinating, and I just want to talk more about it. So are you guys, I keep saying that, are y'all planning on any sort of upkeep and maintenance, as far as 4 or 5 years down the road, when things are starting to look a little needing painting and stuff? I mean,
Yeah,
what
so-
sort of plans?
So the plants themselves, we're planting those, so they're kind of meant to be kind of wild-like, right? It's a native plant garden, a pollinator garden, yes. And the turf that Jenna is suggesting, so that literally, you don't really ever have to water it besides establishment, and then it only needs to be mowed twice a year.
Yeah. and that's-
So it's a special turf so everything is low maintenance, drought tolerant, low maintenance.
And then as far as the
It's meant for
sales
longevity.
and the facilities,
Yeah.
the bins and things, I mean,
Yeah.
how long do you, I just wonder if there's, because what I would hate to happen is we build this beautiful, kind
Mm-hmm.
of thing in the school, and then 5 or 10 years down the road when we're, our kids are out of school and we're
Yeah.
then we
Well-
pass it on to somebody else that they have a plan to make sure it stays.
Yeah, and we will add that to our PTA notes, because it is a PTA project. So like any other PTA project, playground equipment, whatever, we replace it as it's needed, and that's pretty typical of a PTA project. So I can see that happening. I also can see, I'm working with LMS for their school garden as well, and so we are trying to get we are really trying to get a master gardenery, retired program where those folks can support the school gardens, because that's going to be key to have someone kind of manage, that area,
But you know when the
maintenance,
trees are, say,
upkeep.
whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'll be working on that this year with Marla Haugen at LMS. So that, as far as I'm concerned, I would love all the schools to have gardens, and so I'm thinking about
I know, that was my third question, is how do we keep the other elementary schools from being super jealous?
Well, they too can have an outdoor learning lab. Just contact Jenna.
No, and I just wanted to reiterate, thank you so much for your effort, both of you really have.
Yeah,
But, you've been really instrumental, and I think, you
Yeah,
guys have a great
it's
vision.
super
here.
exciting,
It's awesome.
and I'm just happy that the teachers will, and Mr. Bruce will have another resource too. It's also a meeting area for the teachers or for parents, during open house, whatever. Like, it's just gonna be a community area for us.
Do you think, and please don't let me take over, right? But is there any, have y'all built in any like winter activities into this facility too? Like anything that, because I noticed a lot of it is kind of geared towards summer growing life. Is there anything that you?
Well, we
would
have the
rec-
greenhouse.
Okay,
And they do
so
have a
it's
seed to
partial.
salad project in the greenhouse. So they plant seeds, cucumbers, tomatoes, and lettuce. And then they take care of those throughout the winter. And then in the springtime, they get to make their own salad
Oh,
with
cool,
it.
okay.
So, yeah, so there will
So
be.
they can even do starts in the greenhouse early
Exactly.
on.
We would
and
do
things.
starts for the raised beds. And there's also the compost bins out there. So eventually with the from scratch school lunch program, we would love to start a compost program
You might
at
get more
Jefferson.
compost than you asked for, I think.
Well, it's not too bad. They do
Really?
it at
Okay.
LMS, and that's a big school.
Oh,
They
really?
do it,
Okay.
yeah. And they already,
Fantastic.
and they dumped it out, by the school garden, and we would have a better system with the rollers that would keep the
Keep it
stink in a
secret.
little bit, and keep it rotated and stuff. So that might be down the road, but it's a great idea. All of these things are fantastic for our kids to learn to take care of the earth.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Good job.
Thank you.
Real
Oh,
quick,
yeah,
just to tag
please.
onto the maintenance thing, one of the things I've done with a lot of the clients is developing an operation and maintenance plan with kind of an inspection schedule on certain things. So
Okay.
whether it's weekly, monthly, seasonally, yearly, that sort of thing, we can work together on this and
Okay.
have something that the PTA and future staff can go to.
Nice. Oh, thanks again.
That's
This is
great.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jen.
Mr. Thornton, you're next.
I always seem to get to follow up with a very dry
I think it's just you,
after
Joe.
something like.
It gives me time to sign all my papers, Joseph.
Oh, there you go. Gives everybody a chance to check their email info. Check on the score, the WNBA game between the
Oh, the storm, yeah.
Storm and the Mystics.
On the storm.
I have this open maybe on the bottom. Can you see the bottom?
Oh, sorry. Right here, Joe?
Yeah. So if you just blow up the spreadsheet. So, a couple things I want to mention before I jump into this is the new scoreboard, which we shared the cost of with the Bowman Estate donation, is installed and will be dedicated before the football game on Friday night, just to let you know. We will read a statement honoring Ralph and Coach Hobbs at that time. The other thing I wanted to mention real quickly, because I know this is near and dear to some hearts, is the bike program at Lincoln Middle School has started. The training for those teachers started this week. I saw them out riding their bikes with their trainer. I'm not sure if I was getting smiles or glares as I passed them, but it's really cool. We have this trailer that fits the 30 bikes, and they're locked up and all ready to go. So hopefully, if you have any middle schoolers or know any middle schoolers, you'll hear them talking about that at school. I see so many people in Pullman riding bikes. It'd be great to get more kids doing that. So speaking of insurance, what you were asking about before with this garden, which I think is a phenomenal concept, and I'm really excited about helping with that. But what you're talking about is something called a attractive nuisance.
Yeah.
Which is that thing that is not maybe designed for that particular purpose, but kids are very creative and they'll use it. An example of that is the Sunnyside roof is not designed to be climbed on. But kids were figuring out that if they climbed that tree over by the kitchen, they could get on the roof. Once we knew that was the case and we didn't do something about it, the liability for us becomes astronomical. So we remove some branches and kind of remove any chance of a kid using that tree to get on the roof. So, we'll have to look at that and, hopefully design it so that it's not an attractive nuisance. And then if it is, then adjust that accordingly. So even though it may not be designed as a playground, kids play and they'll use,
Especially in like summer months when no one's really there, or,
Yeah.
It's kind of an empty building.
I grew up playing on the railroad tracks, so.
Yeah, me too, right? Like, chasing trains.
I was also the last of 6 children. My mom was like, yeah, go play in the river. Yeah.
They had enough, they could handle it, right?
So I looked at my notes from last year, and it actually this time last year I kind of gave you a risk management update. So I'm folding that into just an update on insurance. As you can see with insurance costs, as all things in life, they are going up. So insurance premiums for this coming year is just under $300,000. That's a reflection of a couple of things. Remember, last year we added a lot of square footage with this building. That made a jump the year before. Overall insurance pool, so this is Clear Risk Solutions that we're a member of their insurance pool. Overall, the jump in that insurance was 9.5. In addition, we've done some things that we've added some vehicles, we've upgraded some things that are a cost. We've added more staff, increased liability insurance. And then this coming year, we're not paying any insurance right now in Kamiak because that's the builder's responsibility. But when they turn that over to us, which will be probably February, we will need to add that to the insurance rolls. Right now, the estimate I'm getting for just insuring the building is $20,000 a year. And if you think about it, for a $22 million building, that's not bad. Now, that does not include the contents. But keep in mind, the reason that the premium is so low, there are things that are in schools that are meant to prevent catastrophic loss. There's fire alarms, there's sprinkler systems, there's those types of things. You typically don't have a catastrophic loss of a school. Now, we'll check on North and South Carolina here in a couple days and see what it looks like for them. And the other thing that helps a lot with our insurance premiums is all the things that we do to hopefully prevent the district being liable for things. Training, checking on stuff, and that's the list. The 2 lists you see below is the stuff we do on an annual basis. Any questions about part of the cost of doing business for a school district? Well, there are some people who don't have insurance.
Well, but you're supposed to.
You're
There's
supposed
still
to.
a cost associated with that, though, because something always happens.
Something always happens.
Does this include liability, or is that it?
This includes our liability. This includes our liability. This includes insurance for drivers. This includes uninsured motorist insurance. This includes property. So this is our entire insurance cost.
So building and contents.
Building and contents, correct. Correct.
That is pretty good.
It's a big number. It's a big number.
But
But if you think about the total assets for the district,
Yeah.
if you think about the fact that we're running buses every day, although I will tell you that the cost to insure bus drivers is lower than the regular driver. Kids are still safer in buses than they are in anything else. Even though it's a big number, if you think about what we are insured, that's pretty inexpensive. Diane's not going to look at me and say $300,000 is not cheap, but it's thrifty. Yeah. Any questions?
No, thank you very much.
so write that down that Diane agreed with you.
Yeah, no kidding. Right.
Note the date and time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. All right, you're up. Gonna do your,
Are we still in the superintendent's report?
we still are.
No, this is D. Everything under C was superintendent's
Well, we got
report,
one
but-
more. Well, we're at, yeah.
Yes.
She's gonna do a 2-part.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Usually takes about an hour.
Okay, there's a handout going down the line with this information in it. This was just a new ad. The state has released their data, and this was just a quick look at our Smarter Balanced Assessment data in comparison to the state. And in every area, we are above the state average. Every area. So some places significantly, some places still above the state average. So it's just a point of information for us. The science assessment changed. We were worried. Everybody was like, not knowing, and lots to celebrate. There's lots to celebrate throughout this. And so it was just a very exciting moment yesterday when I was able to put this together and take the time to do it. But I'm very, very excited about science because it was the shift this year, this last spring, to assess on the next generation science standards. So even though we don't have material, our kids are still doing very well.
Were these, sorry, Roberta.
Go ahead.
Were these taken recently, in the last month, or were they?
No, these were taken
spring?
last spring.
Last spring.
Yeah, this was last spring's results. Yeah. So we need to feel good, very good.
I was going to say, this is really great since they haven't been in school all summer. They've been awesome.
Yeah.
So 11th graders in the state of Washington are only 30% of them are proficient in these new science standards?
Now, that's what's reported.
Okay.
I have a couple hunches about that. One of them being that we really focused on high participation levels because we had gotten dinged on that the year before. We were just outside the limits, and so the high school really took that on, and that was a part even of their school improvement plan. So that could be a reflection of low participation.
Okay.
But who knows exactly what that's all about. I just feel good about where we are because we made every effort to make sure all of our kiddos got assessed.
So let me ask, this isn't part of a highly capable?
No, this is just a commercial celebration of happiness, okay?
But I'm excited about the math scores.
Yes. No,
I know that
and it's,
you will be too.
Yeah, and just a piece to that is when you look on our state report cards, you see math and ELA leveling out. We just got a little bit of feedback from OSPI today that we are recognized as doing really great work. And so as soon as we get that full and complete report, you will be getting that. So they're really excited. I think we are just demonstrating a lot of promising practices in mathematics, and they're recognizing that. So
I was just talking to Johnny on the way in. She was saying that ESP 101 also was giving her massive kudos. So she's really excited.
Yes, we're very excited.
You can't help but learn stuff with her around.
Yeah. Well, and it's everybody coming together to do the work, and it's really exciting. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. So
Nice to see.
yeah, great things. We're doing a lot of great things. So that was just a happy moment, okay?
Thanks for
We like those moments.
Yeah, I thought we should do some celebration.
Now on to your report.
Now we can go on, highly capable. That's one I have right here in front of me.
Oh, fine, thank you.
Take two. I'm going to have the glasses on for this one. Okay, our student numbers are pretty typical. We're not seeing a lot of changes over time. We did add, if you see in the staffing, part of GRACE is paid for out of highly capable. With the increase in state funds last year, it made sense for part of Grace's days to be dedicated to highly capable, because we know we don't have enough money to provide like a certificated teacher all day to that, but we want a part of someone so that we're always pushing ourselves and our system in that area. If you look at the program budget and expenditures, you notice there was a significant increase last year, and that's because the legislature made that decision to increase highly capable funding. So that's reflected there. On the students that met academic goal, that's one of our measures, is to determine whether or not students are exceeding proficiency. So it's not just that students are proficient at their grade level, they have to be into that level 4 of exceeding proficiency. And so you can see that there's some variations in the data, and we've got to go back and spend some time analyzing that. We haven't had a highly capable advisory committee meeting yet, but that'll be coming up in the next couple of weeks, so we'll spend some time specifically analyzing the data. Because of our numbers, it wasn't appropriate for me to bring data by school related to that, but we do spend time talking about it as a team, and then for schools to be going through that data. It's also probably not realistic for us to have 100% of our kids at that level 4. I mean, that's a huge expectation. Not that they're probably not capable, but you know, kids are kids, and we have to be flexible that way. If we look at the district goal and strategy, so the first one really continues to be professional development, and the state really encourages us to spend our resources in professional development. That's part of what Grace does. We've done, as you see, multiple kinds of training with our staff. At middle and high, we really target teachers that teach advanced courses. At elementary, we target those teachers that serve students who are highly capable, because as you know, we have a cluster group model at our elementaries. And so you can see all of the variety of things that folks have been accessing, really feeling great about where we are with that. And we help to support teachers from the high school to participate in AP summer institutes, because that's a huge piece to offering AP courses. And as there are changes, those teachers have to be trained in that, or we can't offer it. The providing information and support to parents, we do an annual newsletter, but if you go on, Bob, to the next page. I think that the most important pieces are how we can bring parents together so that they can have conversations with folks who are experts. We access Deb Johnson, who is an expert out of Spokane. She's a retired principal from Spokane Public Schools, who now is a part of Prodigy Northwest. And so she was in to talk with parents of kiddos who have already been identified as being highly capable, as well as parents who were wondering if their children were and if they wanted to have them assessed. This fall, we have a gentleman from Eastern Washington University who is going to come in and speak with parents, and we're going to do it in the fall because we feel like waiting till January is too long. So let's engage our families and our parents and families earlier. And that is for current families of kiddos who are already in the program. We're looking at another option or opportunity for those kids that could be potentially assessed. And then we conducted a parent survey, and parents are very honest, and we appreciate that. That's the only way we're going to make our program better. And some of our feedback was, I'm not really sure what's different for my child. So we have a reporting process that our teachers do for our children who are identified as being highly capable. And so that just told us we've got to go back and have conversations about how do we do the reporting? How much detail do we provide so that parents do know the difference? Because it has to be different, and in a good way, and it doesn't mean that they just get more problems to do, okay? It's that whole idea of going deeper. And then we've had the opportunity the last 2 summers, this is all dependent on budget, to provide some extended summer enrichment for kiddos whose family applies for that, makes that request. And this year we had 25 students that participated. So that was really exciting in comparison to probably 10. I look at Meg, I think it's the year before. 8, okay, yeah. So that was a huge number. And we don't do an after-school enrichment experience. We've had conversations about that. This is such a rich opportunity. Meg and I have this goal, I don't know how we're going to, at some point we're going to pull this off, to have one here in Pullman. And we would love to have a collaborative effort, perhaps between 1 or 2 universities, to be able to offer a camp for our kiddos right here in Pullman. But right now they have to access it at Eastern Whitworth. Yeah. So I feel great about where we are and where we are going forward. We have a good committee that gets together, very committed, and I think that the vision really has been supported by Grace and Johnny around the going deeper, spending time with teachers, offering professional development on going deeper instead of more problems. And so I'm excited about that.
So the increased budget that's mainly spent for
part of Grace.
Teacher training.
Yeah, and so, it's teacher training, and then we extended the number of scholarships this year to camp.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was a huge expenditure.
The number of students is not grown.
Yeah, the number of students has stayed the same, but the state, more than doubled our funds.
Except that there's a whole bunch more at Jefferson and less at Jefferson and more at Franklin's. Is that just moving?
That is just sometimes the nature of how things flow. Yeah, that happens.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But,
Yep.
whatever.
Yeah.
And so there's a standard, even though now you have a bigger budget, it's
Yes.
Grace, but is there you have a specific cutoff, so you can't increase?
Yes, we do. Yeah,
I mean,
at the 97th percentile.
You make it?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and we have an appeal process. All of those pieces
So
are
it's not
in.
like, now you're getting an A+ and an A++.
Right,
Okay.
right, yeah.
Good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Roberta.
Thank you, Roberta.
I'm not next.
You're not
You can
done?
stay up there if you'd like.
I'm going back.
Oh, thanks for the warning. All right.
Includes my superintendent's report.
Thank you. Yeah.
So why was that under, like, why
Yep.
was it not Roman numeral?
It should.
Oh, okay.
All right. It is.
Okay. The next portion of the agenda is the visitors section. This part of the agenda is for anyone wishing to speak before the board, either as an individual or as a member of a group. Visitors addressing the board will go to the microphone and state their name and address prior to presenting their information. The board will listen and may offer clarification, but will not discuss the topic at this time. The board may consider moving the topic presented to a future meeting date as a discussion item. Please keep your comments civil and respectful and limit your remarks to 3 minutes. And our first visitor addressing the board will be Beth Ficklin.
Hi, I'm Beth Ficklin. I live at 1040 Northwest Clifford Street. Just had a couple of questions. I wanted to follow up with some things that I've been asking about over the last couple of years, or the last year or so. But first, I'd really like to, I've had a couple of experiences in the last week, like the Townville Elementary shooter went to trial this week. And so that's one of the things that kind of got me thinking about some things and talking to some other parents. We'd like to know what supports are available to children who are either identified as bullying behaviors in school or people who consistently pick on other kids. What are we doing for those kids to teach them correct behaviors in school and kind of remediate that? Are we just suspending them? Some of our experience has been that no corrective action at all has been given to those kids. So our kids are moved who have been bullied are moved to a different seat in the classroom, but nothing has been done to address the child that was a problem. We'd also like to know what supports are given to kids who have been suspended due to behavioral problems. Do they just go out for their 3 days? Do they come back and do they have counseling with the counselor? Do they have anything to address how to fix those behavioral problems so that they can be part of the classroom a little bit better, so that their school experience is a little bit better, and ultimately our kids' school experience is a little better? Another one is what supports are available to kids who have issues with self-harm or suicidal thoughts. I know that mental health care in this area is difficult to get, so if a child is having that problem, you could be on a wait list for 2 or 3 months to get mental health care to deal with that or to learn techniques for that. How does the school kind of deal with that so that doesn't become an issue in the school? And then I'd like to ask some things that I've been talking about. So I've definitely asked you guys in the past to talk about a special needs advisory committee. I know that the WASA review showed that we could turn the parent resource partnership into that. What are the plans for actually doing that? I know we had 2 meetings last year. Is there an advisory committee that's meeting that I'm not aware of? I'm glad if you guys want to, do one without me. I don't have to be on it. I just want parents to be involved with this process. And then is the board actually following up with some of the WASA review items? I know I emailed all of you guys. Is that happening? And then my final thing is, can we do an increased dedication to providing accommodations this year? I know we've had several parents. I've already had one parent come and say, hey, I know for sure that I didn't get this one accommodation on a MAP score. Could we get something like that a little bit better? And definitely some time for teachers to actually review our IEPs that we have. That's a concern that I have personally, that it feels like sometimes we go to these IEP and 504 meetings and our teachers aren't familiar with the documents that they should be. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben.
Would anyone else care to address the board? Okay. I think we do have reports. I'm not sure what it would take to prepare a report about kind of support programs for students, but I don't think we've seen something like that, and that might be, it sounds like there might be some community interest in.
Well, I would say after the last email from Mr. Hines, there's definitely some community interest.
Yeah, so that might be something that we could work on, preparing a report at a future board meeting.
Yep, we could do that.
Yeah. And just, we're not discussing right now, but I'll just clarify that the WASA report that was referenced is on the website. It does contain a long list of recommendations. We did have, at a board retreat this summer, we spoke with the Director of Special Services about kind of prioritizing items and what the timeline is, because it is a very lengthy list of recommendations, and we're looking at realistically probably a 5-year plan to fully implement all the recommendations in that report. But they were working on consolidating them and sorting out the order of what's going to happen when. So I just want to assure you that we definitely are looking at it, and the work is continuing, and we asked to have reports twice a year on this topic, so you can expect to see those reports. So, okay. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. To expedite business at a board meeting, the board approves the use of a consent agenda, which includes items considered to be routine in nature. Any item which appears on the consent agenda may be removed from the consent agenda by a member of the board and voted on separately, and the remaining items will be voted on by a single motion. Tonight's consent agenda consists of minutes, budget status report, warrants, overnight field trip requests, personnel report, professional and personal services contract report, ASB fundraisers, transfer requests, and also the secretary's MOU, which is in there as well. So I would now
I will move that we approve the consent agenda as presented this evening.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The consent agenda is unanimously approved. Next, we'll move on to our action items, beginning with Policy 2409, Credit for Competency Proficiency, presented by Assistant Superintendent Kramer.
Hello again. Since the last board meeting, there have not been any changes that I made to the suggested rewrite. As you remember, if Bob would go to the bottom.
There.
I really want to be in charge of that mouse, if you guys really want to know. We provided more explicit language on the directed athletics component. That was what we needed. We felt like we needed to do to provide further clarification.
I would move that we approve the credit for competency proficiency policy as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the revisions to Policy 2409. Is there any further discussion?
Just a note, thank you for making the clarification.
And it says grades, what, again, I need to know what grades 10 through 12, could you explain?
Because in ninth grade, they have to take health and fitness. That's a requirement.
It's a requirement.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay, so it's,
all right. So, but if it's health and fitness,
they have to take health
that
and
doesn't
fitness.
count as sports, though.
No, but it's a PE credit. That's what that sports, that's the waiver of
So
the
what
PE
we're
credit.
giving it
Yeah.
is a PE credit, so that since they are already taking PE, they can't take double PE
Yes.
credit. All right,
And-
it's getting through.
Yeah, and the health and fitness, remember, is health is combined with PE, and it's
Right.
a year long.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So that's why, because then you'd be getting a double,
right.
yeah.
so.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I don't think we should belabor this, but as I look at it, transcript to course, I mean, I'm not sure what it said above, but it doesn't specifically say that the course is fitness, does it? So,
Yeah, it's a the competency is directed athletics, okay? So they're going
Yeah.
to demonstrate,
Oh, there you go.
yeah, PE, fitness, and health. So it's a transcript to course of applicable assessment. So where does that fit? That only can fit into PE.
fitness, yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it makes sense. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it passes
Thank you.
unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that was our only action item tonight, so now we're moving on to our discussion items, and we'll begin with the PEA Collective Bargaining Agreement presented by Superintendent Maxwell.
Thank you. So as you've heard, the Pullman Education Association and the Pullman School District reached a tentative 2-year agreement, collective bargaining agreement, and so that was ratified by the PEA membership on August 29th. Some highlights there. It's an 89-page document, but I pulled out some of what I thought were highlights, but there are a lot of highlights within the whole agreement. It's a really good agreement for everyone. It's a fair contract. It contains a revised salary schedule. Contains 5 professional learning days. Those are optional, but I can tell you probably 98% of our teachers attend. And that's one more day than we've offered in the past, and the state is providing an extra day. The following year, the state will offer an additional day, so that'll change from 5 this year to 6 next year. A school calendar committee comprised of...
That's interesting. That's different, isn't it? Because it used to be just the PEA deciding when the calendar was.
This is a big change for us, and so it's going to be our first attempt at a calendar committee comprised of district staff and community members. And so Shannon and I have been doing some preparation, and I will be, and I have talked with the PEA leadership, and so we're going to get together to iron out the details. But I do want to get that going as soon as possible, because I know so many of our parents plan vacations for work, especially years in advance, and so we typically try to get our calendar out 2 years in advance. So this is a really, I'm really excited about this one. So this will be an opportunity. There will be a survey. The committee will develop 2 options. It'll go to our memberships that have a voice in the calendar, and then I'll bring that to you as a consideration. But we're really excited about this change. This is a significant change in the way we've done that.
Well, I'd just like to say that's something that I've heard from a lot of community members too, is like with the Thanksgiving break issues and the other things. And so I think that's really a great way to go.
Yeah. So we're really, really excited about that. Also, lower class size language in K3, as you know, received additional funding from the state this year, and so that's happening right now. But this memorializes it into a contract language. Professional responsibilities have been clarified and aligned with the evaluation framework.
That's huge.
Those are there's no longer TRI, which stood for really extra things, extra responsibility, extra time, extra incentives. Incentives are still there, but really the professional responsibilities are built into the revised salary schedule. And so there's a list of things that we have that are considered professional responsibilities now, and are also aligned with the state's evaluation framework, because there is part of their evaluation contains language about what are those additional professional responsibilities that you do on a daily basis or a yearly basis. So those are just some of the highlights, but really appreciate all the hard work from the PEA negotiating team and from the district's negotiating team. They worked very well together and put in a lot of time, and I think we have a really, really good product.
So given that we've already started the school year, would you recommend that we move this to an action item for this evening? Or, I mean, because as far as interrupting pay, or I don't know what the implications are of approving it 2 weeks from now.
It's up to the board's discretion if you want to move it to an action item or not.
I would say, from my question though, administratively, would it be helpful to do that?
We're fine. We have it set up to roll the salaries in anyway, so.
So people will get paid.
They're going to get paid.
And everything is okay.
So you don't have to rush. I typically don't recommend it since it's a dense document, so, and this will not affect pay. We have pay set up to roll on this. Okay. Unless you have real strong feelings that you don't want to go this direction, let me know.
As long as no one's going to change their mind. Okay, we're all good.
If you're going to change your mind, I might not need to know now, but like right now.
No, I mean, as long as it's not going to create any problems, we can leave it as
No,
a
it will
discussion
not.
item.
It will not create any problems on there.
Well, I would look at it just the opposite, not create problems, but it would be a sign of goodwill.
Yes, absolutely.
So.
Would you like to move?
I'll make the motion that we move it to an action item.
I will second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we move this item, the PEA collective bargaining agreement, from a discussion item to an action item. Is there any further discussion of that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Okay, the motion to move this to an action item was approved unanimously. So at this point, I would entertain a motion regarding the item.
I would move that we approve the PEA collective bargaining agreement for 2018-19.
18, 19, 19, 20.
19-20.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the PEA collective bargaining agreement for 2018-19 and 2019-20. Is there any further discussion?
I would just like to thank the PEA bargaining group and the administrative team from the district. This was a long year, so I just wanted to thank everybody on behalf of the board, and I speak on behalf of the community as well. Having kids start school at a normal time, I think is, when I hear about strikes that are occurring throughout the state and how much discord that is having, I just couldn't imagine that happening in Pullman. So I thank the PEA and the administrative team. I know it was a lot of work. So, and I put this forward as a goodwill motion. Yeah.
Any other discussion? Okay, thank you for your remarks, Jim. Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Okay, the bargaining agreement is approved unanimously. Next, we'll move on to policy 6110, video surveillance, presented by Superintendent Maxwell.
That would be me. Oh, surplus
Oh, I'm
sales.
sorry,
Actually,
ours
ours
says video surveillance.
Allison does not want to hear from you again tonight.
It's totally different
It's
in what I'm
different.
looking at,
Oh.
so.
Surplus sale was also a 98-page document that I cooked down to one page for you. This is the time of year where we end up with stuff that we need to get rid of, so I'm bringing forth a request to do a surplus sale.
And Joe, these are the items that are in the surplus pile.
Correct.
And
That is
just
correct.
A little background, like how often do you do these and what's the process?
Typically, once a year, we've made a real push to, over the course of the summer and the beginning of the school year, to grab that stuff that people don't want anymore, not let it stockpile in buildings, so that we can do this once a year, get it out of the shop before winter hits, when we need to have a lot of extra stuff in the shop set up for dealing with winter.
I thought
So,
it was all in the halls of the central office.
That's what I was gonna ask. Is this gonna clear the halls of the?
it will actually, it will clear the halls of the central office of a lot of that stuff.
Nice.
Including all the curriculum stuff that got double ordered. Double shipped, not double ordered.
Oh, and they're not taking it back?
They are taking it
They
back.
are taking
They are
it
taking
back.
it back, yes.
They're taking their sweet time.
Yeah.
So how does one participate in the surplus property auction?
As another school or as a community member? So the first thing we have to do is make this available to other schools,
Okay.
if they're interested. And then after a series of ads, I have to advertise in the paper for a certain window of time. Then it's available at a certain date and time for the community to come and look at stuff.
Okay, so just look for the advertisement.
Look for the ads, correct, look for the ads.
Thank you.
And I will tell you that between the point in time that you tell me you authorize the sale and I actually can do the sale is about a month.
So I will say, Joe, that I would ask the board, and we don't normally do this, but consider moving this to an action item because we'd really like to get our hallway back as soon as possible.
And again, because this is not something, you approve this tonight, I can do the sale tomorrow. You do this tonight, that allows me to start the process that takes about a month to actually have
Kind
the
of
sale
public
take
comment
place.
period and the notifications and all that
Correct,
stuff.
correct.
I would move approval, or I would move that we push the surplus sale to an action item.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we move this item, the surplus sale, from a discussion item to an action item this evening. Is there any discussion of this motion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, this item is now an action item. I would entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the surplus sale request, is it? Would this be a request?
Actually, it's supposed to be
It's a resolution.
It's a resolution.
Yeah.
Resolution, yeah.
I would move that we approve the resolution for a surplus sale.
Second.
Do we have a resolution number?
Yes.
Oh, no.
181903.
Oh, snap.
Was it in the
The packet, it was the resolution in the packet.
Yes, I can go back to it
There's
if you'd
one.
like.
No, is it in the things to sign?
No.
Oh, okay,
Oh, no, sorry.
okay. So,
We'll have to get that to you.
1903, yeah.
I can probably,
if you print
I can-
off...
Next time.
I can,
Just a formality.
Oh, okay.
and I can, in the before you're done, I could have one printed off.
Yeah, that would be another way to go, is
Okay.
print a copy.
Why don't you
We'll
print it?
sign
Yeah,
it
we'll
while
print it
we're
off.
here.
I can do that.
Okay.
Does anyone want to second the
Oh,
table?
yeah.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve Resolution 181909, the surplus sale. Any further discussion of that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the resolution is approved unanimously.
So an addendum to that is also the expectation that the district hallway office is cleared out.
Yes.
Is that the combo?
But I need to clarify that the resolution was 1819-03, not
Oh, 03,
1819-09.
I'm sorry, I wasn't
So-
looking at it, so.
Yeah, 1803.
Okay, but, thank you.
So, yeah, I don't know if we need to vote again or what, because,
Are you concerned? Should,
no, I'm not concerned, but I just want to make
Okay.
sure that it's in the record that we voted on 1819-03 rather than 1819-09.
We could read
My
it.
motion originally stated 18-1903 because I wrote it down.
Okay,
As I was
good.
saying.
okay,
So,
so I just reiterated your motion incorrectly, but,
Okay.
The
As long as we were
motion was
voting on his
correct.
motion, then
yeah,
we're
okay.
Just
Okay.
gotta
Thank you.
We'll straighten
keep
it
the
all out
ducks
in
in
the
a row.
minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, perfect.
What was this called again?
Okay, so now
Now, it's
we'll go to policy 6110, video surveillance.
Thank you. So, this is a brand-new WASDA policy, 6610, provides notification and clarification regarding use of video cameras within district buildings and on district property. We currently do not have a policy, but we do have video cameras in all of our buildings now. Remember?
How does it maintain health?
What's that?
How does video surveillance at district property maintain health?
Keeps everybody healthy, because if we see something that's not healthy or unhealthy, we can correct that.
It's a safety.
Like smoking?
Smoking.
Welfare and safety of students, but I don't know how it maintains health. All right, fine, I just,
And so you're referring to the specific language, so you can see that basically I didn't touch much of it other than adding the Pullman School District Board of Directors authorizes. I also added how we would notify staff and students. Currently, I have the district website and signage, both of those. I did not put handbooks, but in the future, I would suggest adding those to the handbooks. I just didn't include handbooks this time because our handbooks have already gone to
Yeah.
print and are out, and I didn't want to indicate handbooks and somebody looks and they can't find it in the handbook.
How widely distributed are the video cameras? I mean, is it just the doors and the buses, or is there other, like, intermittently spaced?
It depends on the building.
Is the high school the most?
The high school has the most, middle school would be next,
That makes sense.
and then at our elementaries, but we did add surveillance cameras to all buildings in the
At
district.
the entrance door, or,
Yes,
okay.
yeah.
And then, do they do any filming or videoing of incoming vehicles in the parking spaces, or, I mean, is there any?
Right now, it would be the high school and the middle school,
Thank you.
yeah.
Not to give away too much of the
I
security.
don't want to give too much information. You can tell I'm being a little hesitant because I don't want to give away all of our stuff.
No, that's understood.
That's the
I was
whole
more
point.
curious about how many and the, the extent of.
Ryan's giving me the eye, so I got to be careful. So,
They gotta go hide them all again, sorry, man.
Ryan installs a lot of our cameras, so now he may say is to go move some of them now, so.
Okay, cool.
so when it says you may use this for discipline, does this mean you can release the video? Is there anything in here that you need to worry about releasing the videos to, say, the law enforcement?
We're going to be working with that as part of our procedure.
Okay.
And so they don't have the procedure out, but that is one thing that Joe and I have already had discussions on regarding that. So there are some things that we may have to do, such as blurring out people and different things, so.
Yeah.
That's a really good question.
Okay.
Yeah.
But, yeah, but I think it needs to be somewhere where people can see that this could possibly happen, is just sort of.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There'll be a whole nother set of procedures that come along with
Oh,
this.
goody.
Does WASDA have a procedure? or-
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
So they only have the policy last time I checked, so,
Okay.
And that would cover like all the public records requests too? I mean, if
yes.
someone-
Would cover those
Oh, the
things.
public records request.
Yeah, because I know the police forces are having a big problem with badge cameras, because people will, I don't know if it's maliciously or not, but they'll just request all of the videos for like 5 years from a particular police officer, and it logistically is very challenging for smaller, cities to satisfy those, because there's, the storage is kind of iffy, and the, then reproducing, and they have to, it's.
Well, yeah, it's become quite the ploy and when you're attacking.
Yeah, because, in that role, they have to go through and remove any sort of sensitive films, and so they all have to be viewed, and I would imagine it would be similar with us.
Very similar.
And so I just wanted to throw that out there, because that could be a
And the
huge.
difference with us is ours only stay in storage for so many times, unless it's an issue, and then we would keep that separately, so.
Are there schedules from the state on how, I know there's retention schedules for documents. Is there video retention?
I'm not quite sure on the video retention stuff, but most systems only usually keep it for X amount of days.
Which is great.
It really depends on the system. But since we do have them, and we probably should have a policy and a procedure eventually.
And I'm sure the answer is yes, but are they all digital?
Ryan, are they all digital? Yes. Yes, thank you.
Nice.
That'd be crazy.
I know. I just, you never know what kind of surplus
I was
gear you
assuming
know
that I'm
about.
gonna go, I've seen some pretty interesting cameras around here. So. Any other questions?
No, not for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the questions as well, so we'll follow up on those.
Okay, that concludes our discussion items for the evening. There are some brief informational items in the packet, and then if there are no objections, we will now recess into an executive or closed session for the purpose of discussing evaluations of complaints against public employees and negotiations. How long will we?
20 minutes.
20 minutes, okay. So no action will be taken, and then we will adjourn at the end of the meeting.
Thank you.